Hello and welcome to Restless Gecko Reviews. Today's video is going to be a bit more of a monologue-esque video, so I appreciate if you stick with me on this. Just before I get started, if you want to subscribe to help the channel, that would be great. Leave a like if you like it, leave a dislike if you don't like what I'm saying, and I will read through any comments in the comment description below and get back to you as soon as possible. So, it seems that we've reached a bit of a crossroad in the peripheral enthusiast community where we're now seeing clones. So clones of clones, iterations of the same mouse with updated hardware, slightly different switches, like in the case of the GWolves HTS Plus 8K. So this is obviously the 4K. They've swapped the sensors to a 3395 from the 3399. They've changed the zippy switches to 10 blue shell pink dots, and they're now charging $150 excluding postage, and these have come down, I think, to about $130, or it's $160 and $130. So the 4K version is now cheaper, and the 8K version has gone up to the previous price of the 4K. So which is kind of mad in a lot of ways. So the difference is the sensor, which they could have put in it a while ago, but they seem to have had a batch of like 3399s that they stuck in it, which very well known for draining the battery. The performance is excellent, but it drains the battery like crazy, especially if you put it on 4K. It lasts like a day, and 2K a couple days, and then 1K obviously, but you won't buy a 4K version, you'd buy the Ace if you were just going to use it on 1K, or at least that's what I would recommend. But so this mouse that they've brought out now, the 8K, so this is still capable of 8K, and they said that it would launch with the HDR and the other new models, which I don't believe it has just yet for the 3399. But so they've released that mouse. It doesn't have a 3950 in it, and they're charging $150, which is like Razer money. So that's like almost Viper V3 Pro money, which is kind of crazy when you consider that has better switches, arguably, if you like opticals over 10 blue shell pink dots, and it also has a much better sensor, as you'd expect, because they have exclusivity on like the latest and the finest sensors available. It's just the shape, so they're basically commanding $150 for the shape, or $160 or $130 for the 4K, which is still pretty steep, to be honest. So yeah, even though the 3399 should be able to handle the 8K, it's still not been released as far as I'm aware. But that is sort of like the direction the market seems to be headed at the moment. It's like, let's release our former shape as it currently is, all the same tooling, let's just change the internals, update it to a new model, even though it's not technically a new model. So it does feel like a few actors are updating internals and just pushing mice out with fundamentally changing not that much behind the scenes, but I think it is taking advantage of FOMO a little bit. I mean, do what you want to do to make your bread, but that's what it appears like to me. Like it's like saying, oh, I have this mouse, it doesn't have the best it could have, it's not 8K, or it doesn't have a 3950, or whatever. Like eats into your brain, and you're like, oh, but it's not the best it could be. But at the end of the day, like, perfectly fine as it is, as long as you remember to charge it at the end of the day. Stick it on charge, it's perfectly fine. But as I said in the previous video, we seem to be at a stage now where we're waiting for the next big innovation. Like the keyboard had the Hall effect. We just need to wait for what comes next, because at the moment it's just diminishing returns from the implementations of these newer sensors. So they're updating them, they got higher polling rates, they got 8K being a polling rate, which, to be honest with you, most machines can't handle it. Most games aren't optimized for it, especially if it's a CPU banned game, because obviously it's reporting that much that the CPU just sort of can't handle it, or it's not optimized to handle it a lot of the times. So again, it's diminishing returns on the 8K, and whether you can notice the difference between the 4K and 8K is all good for you if you can, but to be honest with you, I don't really see much of a difference apart from my battery life eking away. Yeah, the truth about polling rates is it's not going to make you a better player. It might give you an edge in terms of your milliseconds of response time, or it might feel smoother to you, which again, that isn't the same for everyone either. So everyone has sort of like a different rate at which signals are sent from the eyes to the brain. So effectively, some people have like a higher refresh rate for their eyes than others, which sounds mad, but it's pretty spot on. So when you've got two people arguing on Reddit that they can notice the polling rate and that, oh, it feels so much better and it's so much more accurate, and the other person saying, "Oh, I don't really feel different. It just feels the same to me." Potentially, they're both right, especially depending on what monitor they're using, because we're getting to the point now where we're going to need like 1,000 hertz monitors to see the difference, and they're not going to be out for a while, or even affordable for a while. I mean, the 540 from Zowie is very expensive, and I won't be touching anything like that for a while until it comes down in price, personally. But it's also the same for audio equipment as well. So it depends on the shape of your ears internally. So obviously sound is reflected in different ways in different people with different shaped ears. So what I hear and what you hear are two completely different things. So you'll perceive those different frequencies, so different peaks and lows, and the sub bass, the bass, everything. You'll hear it completely differently to me if your hearing is, or if your ears are shaped differently, or if you've abused your hearing at gigs and stuff like that. You're gonna hear something different to what I hear. So for me to recommend something to you, yeah, it might work for like 8 out of 10 people, but those other 2 people are going to be really disappointed because their ears aren't like mine. They don't have the same hearing that I do. Although I'm not so sure that my hearing's that good, to be honest with you. So like a $20 set of IEMs might sound like $1,000 set to me, but to you it might sound like a $5 set, and then you're going to be disappointed. So when a guy says he can hear a player tap dancing on A while he's sat on B, he might be right, but it also doesn't mean that you'll get the same effect from using the same gear. So it's highly subjective. But I think like it would be nice if peripheral companies started to make attempts at maybe more successfully doing what Asus did with its AIM Labs Edition mouse, something that can sort of get you better at games by providing more data, more customization, more ways of just raising your level in game. But to be honest, the truth is that everyone is on their own journey to figure out what's best, the best partnerships for them, whether it's the mouse pad, the skates, the mouse, the grips, whatever it is. Everyone's just looking for their perfect match. So it's all going to be very, very different. And I think that part of that journey is discovering what works best for you. And there are generally good peripherals like the Logitech Gpro Superlight and the Razer Viper V3 Pro, because they're very sort of like malleable shapes that you can sort of get a good grip on regardless of what grip you use, regardless of your hand size in some cases. They're generally good, but then you've also got like specifically good peripherals like Shroud's G303, which was made for one man seemingly. And yeah, you've just got to figure out whether it's good for you or not. So purchasing with a good return option is always good as well. It keeps you safe financially. Like I said, the key things going forward are going to be the subjective elements of the mice and peripherals. So it's what you like yourself rather than what everyone else is saying is the best. So the shape, the switches you prefer, the mouse feet design, the materials. And I think at the moment the most interesting things in the peripheral space are mouse pads and feet, because a lot of these mice feel like derivatives, like I said, just tech refreshes. So hopefully we'll see a few more refreshing shapes and jumps in the other areas of technology, like the switches on the OP18K, or some new mouse feet that sort of just change the way the game's played. But I think the most promising mice coming out at the moment, at least in my eyes, are probably the OP1 4K, the XM2W 4K, the FK2 wireless that was spotted with Snacks at the Esports World Final, coming from Zowie. I think they're going to be quite interesting to look into. I think that's going to have a 3950, 10 blue shell pink dots, or at least a variation of some 10 switches. So I think that's going to be a nice one. We don't know about the polling yet. It's using the same dongle as all the rest of the Zowie mice, so we'll have to see what that brings. But yeah, the other thing as well, I think that people should talk about more, and I think Fresh Reviews does talk about it as well. There is no shame in sticking to what you're already using, like a 3370, a 3395, 3399, even the 3950. We're at the point of diminishing returns now. Again, whether you say you can feel it or not, some people can, some people can't. It doesn't matter. It's not going to make you a better player. But the other thing as well is when you get a new mouse, there's probably a non-insignificant chance that you're going to perform exactly the same as you would with the one you're currently maining, especially if the shape's so similar. So like the Sora V2, the XM1R clones, the XM1 clones, the Lamzu Atlantis, there are slight changes here and there, but they're virtually the same shape. Some of the changes will work for your grip style, some of them won't. There are like niche elements to it, but generally speaking, you're going to perform very, very similarly. Unless something radical comes out where it's like a shape of a pen or something like that, or really low profile that just works for you, the chances are you're going to perform very, very similarly. And also, don't forget, the placebo effect is a real thing, and you shouldn't underestimate it. You will perform better with the new mouse for a time, but eventually you'll find that diminishing return again, and you'll reach the same level as you did with your last mouse, and you might even end up going back to that last mouse because it was more comfortable, unless, and this is of course unless it unlocks like a new grip style, a new way of tracking targets for you, or holding the mouse that's sort of more comfortable and accessible. So yeah, that's pretty much my little monologue for the day. I hope things start getting a bit more interesting soon for everyone. Obviously, people are still out there shopping for new mice and they want to know what's best. But from someone that's used a lot of mice, I just hope that something new is around the corner, something groundbreaking that really sort of shifts the market in a more dynamic direction. Because, like I said, it seems to be shape clones, refreshes, 3950 implementations across the board. And yeah, it's sort of what we've come to expect now, and it has been happening for a couple of years. But yeah, hopefully something will come along and changes. And I think Endgame Gear are definitely one to watch with their sort of innovations that they're doing in little areas. And I just hope that other people follow suit. And yeah, we see some awesome new shapes, some new ways of playing that we hadn't considered in the future. So that'll be it for this video. Thank you for watching. Leave a comment below if you agree with what I said. If you disagree with what I said, also leave a comment, like or dislike, and please subscribe to the channel. It helps me massively. So thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.